fall behind. And I'm sorry, I've been fighting a head cold or something. So if I bug out on you, you just know I'm taking a coughing fit or something.
And we have already talked, so Dr. Revis and I know each other's cues, and so if I pick up in the middle of a sentence, then just bear with us. Dr. Revis, you're smarter than me. I was going to say something towards the end, but since you said it, I could not have been more pleased with task 4 work overall for my group. And after me sending out the email last week to them, and I know, honestly, I called Dr. Revis. When I said, Dr. Revis, I said, I'm glad I did it. It paid off. I said, they took it to heart, took it seriously, and the overall quality of the work that came in this time was what I expected. And so I just want to say, I can fuss at you. I'll fuss at you in love, but when you do well, I promise you, I'll praise you for it too. And you deserve overall the praise. There's a couple that, still you need to pick it up and you know who you are. But overall, I couldn't have been more pleased. And Dr. Revis, I will tell you, as of this afternoon, out of 20 students, 10 have already cleared and have their grade in Blackboard on task 4 with 100. So
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Mine are running a little bit behind, but we will get there, Dr. Stedman.
Yeah, there's several that it's just a matter of, I've cleared them. They've got to get it in there. And then there's a few that, 90-95s, and they've got to get that presentation in there and just clean up a little something. But overall, it was far, far superior work. It was what I expected of you at this level. So, congratulations on a job well done. The peer reviews, Dr. Revis, I have just, that they have really have taken that seriously. The most professionally written, and the thing is, they're really, many of you are really taking it to heart, and you're looking at that rubric strength and the weakness, and you're being very candid, like we asked you to, and you're providing effective feedback that's going to make a difference. But it not only makes a difference for the person that you're reviewing, it tells us that you have a good understanding and a grip on what you're doing. And that's what we're looking for too. So I say kudos again to that. Honestly, Dr. Revis, I was on cloud 9 when I called you and I said, I am so pleased with the work that has come from my group this week. So again, job well done. We're going to jump right into
let's talk about the Zoom.
Okay, go ahead. Let me stop then. Okay, let me come back out. Okay, go ahead, Dr. Revis.
I was just really pleased with the Zoom sessions that you had, and all the Zoom masters were well prepared. They had a PowerPoint. Most of them already had decided what order people were going to share, and it just went very smoothly. So I was very pleased with that. And don't forget, you've got to put that, it's kind of out of place. You go to your completed peer review Dropbox, scroll down to the bottom, and that's where you put that. I've got a few that still have to turn that in. So let's get that done. And when you have your next Zoom session, it will be a case study. And the expectations will be a little bit different. But this first one got you very accustomed to the process and the procedures of handling yourself together in a Zoom session. So I was real pleased with that.
And I said a lot about that last week, but for the rest of you that finished, you finished well. So I was exactly what Dr. Revis said. I was very pleased with the results of that as well. And we will talk to you next week about the case study. we want to get through some things first, but we'll talk about the case study, and we'll go into your competency folio next week. Next week will be more of just introducing the case study, what you've got to do that, and we'll spend the rest of the class with pretty much nothing but the competency folio. But for today's class, and I sent you the agendas already. Dr. Revis, I sent it to your class as well, so that they would know ahead of time basically what to expect tonight. And we're going to close out with task 5. We're going to tell you how to and what those requirements are once you get to task 5 about putting your document together. And I'm going to tell you, some of you by the end of the week, some of you will be ready to submit the AAPSL and get it behind you. The AAPSL will be history for some of you by the end of the week. And thank you for hanging in there and doing like we asked you. I can see the growth, Dr. Revis. I can see it. The light bulb has come on for many that they were struggling up to, I would say up through task 3. There was a big struggle, but all of a sudden it is almost like there's a turnaround with many of you. The APA issues that were just consistently, don't backslide on me, but when you got to task 4, it's like I figured it out, and you were determined that you were going to address those things and get it right the first time. But thank you for taking it to heart and doing what we wanted you to do. We really appreciate that. I want to let me get my heart going. Let me see what I want. I'm going to bring up and there I go shaking. I told you I got my new computer, Dr. Revis. It just hasn't been fixed yet, so I won't be shaking after that. Do you want us to start with the helpful hints? Let's do that.
Yes, let's do that.
And let me stop my video so I'm not shaking. Okay.
You want me to go ahead?
Yes.
Okay. So task 5 is different from your other task. This is a time for self-reflection. And you're going to reflect on part of your 21 competencies, which we haven't said a whole lot about those competencies, but you're going to have to write reflections from both your coursework and your clinicals on 12 of the 21 competencies. So you've got 12 of the 21. So there are 9 that you have, there are 8, is that correct, that they have to reflect
required
upon?
8, and,
Yeah.
and 4 at home.
They're required 8, and then you have 4 choice ones. So I want to jump right into the example down here. I would always suggest that you start reflecting on how you've demonstrated this competency through your AAPSL process first. And you can see throughout the AAPSL process, I found I've grown as a leader, yada, yada, yada. And the second paragraph, which this one doesn't have it, Dr. Stedman.
This is just that's an introduction paragraph, Dr. Revis. That's
okay. That's the introductory paragraph. There you go. Okay. All right. And then the first competency that you're required to do is communication. So the first paragraph you write about under each competency should be a reflection from the work that you did in the AAPSL, whether it be leading your PLC, communicating with your principal, communicating with your PLC team, whatever. It's about from the work that you did in the AAPSL, the coursework. The second paragraph is about experiences through your clinical work. And you can say,
Right here, see, they said in that second paragraph, for my clinical experiences. Now, what I had, some that have already turned that in, I had them to go back and I said, I know what the example says, but I said I would delineate, in my coursework, blah, 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 during my clinical experience, blah, blah, blah. When you do that, when that evaluator gets there, it's clear to them they can't question you one bit, that you have for each of these you've said in the coursework, in my clinical experience, So I'm sorry, Dr. Evans, but I didn't have that. And I had some of my students go back and to correct theirs to make sure, just because I don't want that evaluator to have any questions at all when they look at your work.
and what we try to do is get you ready for the evaluator. We've both been evaluators, so we know what they look for, and we want it to be very obvious. We don't want them to have to search for anything. So that's why we're giving you these helpful hints. So the next one that you must do, I think, is change management. Again, I would start out my first paragraph in my coursework, such and such. And then the second paragraph, describe what you've done in your clinicals. So by now, you've probably got 30, 35, 40 hours of clinical experiences from which to draw upon. And you just keep going through. The next one is delegation.
Dr. Evans, make sure that when you're talking about your clinical experience, that you're speaking as an administrator, not as a teacher. Everything should reflect your leadership clinically as an aspiring administrator, what you're learning as an administrator. Remember, you took that teacher hat off and you put the principal hat on. So that's what, when you're answering, you're answering from the principal's perspective in the classwork you've done and in your clinical experience.
Now, let me make one point here. Look at the last paragraph here under this section. I use delegation when making the afternoon and morning bus supervision schedules. Well, that's great. That's delegation. I would not want to see that used again for another competency. Okay. Now, notice this is just narrative. There are no artifacts. We will do artifacts in your competency folio. So if you have an artifact from here, which you should, you could submit an artifact when we get to the competency folio part. We could submit a couple of those schedules. But
Right.
for right now, you don't put any artifacts in with this. It's all narrative.
Now we're going to teach you. Hopefully, we're gonna stress it to you now, but we're going to teach you next week how to work smarter and not harder. These same 12 competencies that you're doing for the AAPSL will be the same 12 competencies that you're going to do for your competency folio. Okay? Now, like Dr. Revis said, right now, all you're doing is narrative work, no artifacts. But for the narrative work, you should begin thinking about what artifact do I have that will match dialogue inquiry. Because when you get to your folio, you will have a brief narrative, and it could be some of what you've already done, but a brief narrative, but you're going to provide an actual artifact. And we'll talk about that more next week. So while you're doing it, you might as well work smart, because if you already know what it is, go ahead and put that artifact aside, because you know that we're going to come back to that next week. Okay.
That's exactly right. Try to work smart so that you are writing about in task 5, you're writing about something that you've done either in your clinical or your coursework, but write about something for which you have an artifact. You're not putting it here, but you're going to use it later. Does that make sense? Yes? No? Okay. I see a lot of head shaking. And again, you have 8 that are required, and those are listed in your template.
They are, and remember, week 1, or it was week 1. It was week 1 or week 2. Go back to that because you've got your recorded video, and it was Dr. Crawford. Dr. Crawford's presentation was on task 5, and in his presentation, he showed you the 21 competencies. Remember that? And he said, these are the 8 required for the AAPSL. And then out of the remaining 8, whatever's left for 8 from 21, 13, out of the other 13, you will pick any 4 that you want out of that. The 8 required and 4 from the remaining 13. And that leaves how many that's left? After that, after the 12 you do, that means there's 9 more. Guess when you're going to do those? At the end of the AAPSL that you're going to do next. So the rest of them will come at the end of the semester. You will do 12 with the AAPSL, 8 required, 4 of your choice, and the remaining 9 will come at the end of the AAPSL that we will do next. Okay.
Can we go ahead and pull up the template and let's look at those?
I am. Let me come out of this.
You far left?
Yeah, there it is. Okay, there we go. And when you see this, you'll see that with the template, we have deliberately put what you did as a, in the coursework in red, and what you did as in your clinical experience in green. But that's just for us to separate it here. It's not for you to your work in green and red. You put your work in black. But here it is, Dr. Revis. This is the template.
Dr. Stedman, I think you've gone out on me.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, it says my internet was unstable. This is the template. And I had said that the red and the green, don't get caught up with that. That's just for you to see the difference between what you did as in your coursework and then what you did in your clinical experience. Lots of good examples there.
And at the very end, all the 21 competencies are listed. And you actually are going to take those off of your task 5 when you finish.
Yeah, there it is.
Mm-hmm.
There they are. Now this is in the template.
All right, it shows you those 8 highlighted you have to respond to. And then you will select 4 other ones. And there are all the 21 with a brief description of what it means for the competency.
There they are. Then again, you can go back and refer to week 1 when we talked about it during our coaching session as well. Okay, those videos would be back under those particular weeks. Okay,
Now,
go ahead.
for task 5, there are no peer reviews. Okay.
I know you're disappointed. I said, Lord, Dion's crying. I can see her crying. I saw a tear.
Oh, No peer reviews. Dr. Stedman, do we want them to put them in for instructor review first?
Yes.
Okay, so you will still put them in the Dropbox, the discussion board thread for peer and instructor review, but we're going to be the only ones reviewing them. Okay, so that'll take out a little bit of your work for next week.
Okay, I wanted to go to the full example now. Okay, this is the full example. And this is a completed AAPSL example, and it shows you, again, you've got there's three places you can go and look at work that has already been done on these 12 competencies. So again. Okay.
Yes, Daniel, you're going to submit in the discussion board thread, like you always do, for task 5 for peer and instructor review. But we're the only ones who will pick it up and respond to that.
I think, Dr. Revis, when they go there, I think it doesn't say peer for task 5. I think it
Okay.
says for instructor review only at that
Okay.
point. I think that that's what it is there.
Okay.
Okay, and we'll stop sharing for just a minute. Task 5, before we go any further. Let's see, Michelle, some of the examples you have shown have references. Okay, references are not required, but if you do have a reference in there, then you must cite that at the end. They're not required, but one of the things that I think is good, it ties back into the coursework. It brings in the reading that you had to do. So if you can incorporate that, it only makes your work more quality work, more validated work. So I would highly consider that, especially with the readings that you're independently having to do. Just remember that this is probably not probably. These are some of the areas that when it goes to DPI for your certification, these are things that they're going to look at because they're built around what they require for principals in their principal evaluations. All of these that's the 21 competencies that principals are evaluated on. And it goes along with the standards. So those are things that they are clearly going to look at. So, we want to make sure that you're shining when it gets to that point. Other questions about task 5 before we go to the next step? Everybody good?
And guys, I really hope you will enjoy doing task 5. Reflection is always good for us.
It is.
And that's how we grow, is when we take time to pause and reflect. So I hope you will find it very meaningful as you've grown over this 6 weeks, and really enjoy doing this task.
Okay. Well, Dr. Revis, I agree, Daniel. It is very similar to the national boards. I agree. And a lot of what you do, how you do this work, the evidence work is very similar to what you have to do in national boards. Very similar.
Dr. Stedman, we have one more question.
Sure.
Dr. Revis, could you please repeat what you said about the 21 competencies? Don't use the ones that will be in our competency folder. No, you're going to take these 12 that you're doing now and be very thoughtful about when you're reflecting on something in task 4 that you have an artifact for. Because that artifact is what we will use to build your competency folio. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so for the 12 competencies that you're writing about this time, we will talk about those same 12 competencies next week and tell you that you must use those same 12 competencies, but you must provide an artifact, something that we can see, tangible, that we can look at, we can see, we can touch and feel. You won't just talk about it, you will show us. Okay, so while you're doing the 12 this week, think about what artifacts do I have that I can use for that. You'll have to think. And some of them, you have to really work hard to find the right artifacts, don't you, Dr. Revis? You have to
You do.
think about it.
And you've already, think about all the artifacts you've already done for your
Oh,
coursework.
you've got,
You know,
most of you've probably got more than what you have to decide which one I want to use.
yeah, you've got agendas, you've got pictures, you've got slide decks, you've got lots of things that you can use that you've already done. The hardest artifacts to come by, I think, are the ones from your clinicals, because we get busy doing things and forget, oh, can I get an artifact from here? Now, everything you do in clinical, it'll be hard to get an artifact for. So get the ones that are readily available from your clinicals.
Okay, there I go again. Let me stop share. Okay,
I have a question,
I
if
want
that's
to
okay.
go ahead.
For instance, like one of the things on my clinical, I do like the bus duty in the afternoons, and it's like could be 15 minutes, sometimes 30 minutes. But I don't know what artifact I would use for that. We don't have a set schedule or anything, or what I need my principal to write a note saying Tara Bradford has been working bus duty.
But you know what? You can have your clipboard and everything. You can have somebody take a picture of you doing bus duty.
Oh, okay, that's fine too. All right, well, that's fine.
That's an artifact. Wouldn't you say so,
Okay.
Dr. Revis?
I would,
Well, I'll get
That's an artifact.
yeah.
I'll get a photo tomorrow.
Okay. Uh-huh.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
Just be creative with that. Okay, I'm coming back now. I now know what I want. I want to come back to let me see. There I am. Come back to week 6. Dr. Revis, let me find what I want, and then if you want to talk for just a minute while I'm trying to find what I'm
Okay.
looking for.
Well, we're going to show you now how you put all this together. Many of you've asked lots of questions along the way about, putting it all together. And so
Okay.
we're going to go ahead and show you how to do that, because honestly, some of you are going to be ready to do that by the end, toward the end of next week. You're going to be ready to do. Some of you may be ready to do that. If you get the task 5 done and cleared, you're going to be ready to do that just as soon as you get task 5. We tell you then to put it all together.
Dr. Revis, I want them to look. This is Blackboard. This is your Blackboard. Now, when we go to that document that Dr. Revis and I are going to share, we're going to be referring to something in Blackboard. This is where you'll go. And I want to, we had told you not to go to certain places. When we tell you to go, this is where you're going to go. We're going to tell you. Now, remember, before you do anything, you always can go back to the discussion board and you can put anything in there for us to review. I want us to look at the AAPSL task for, here, AAPSL task for review. Okay. Let's look down here. Now, do you see at the very end? No, that's APTEL. Okay, here we are. Do you see after you submit task 5 for Dr. Revis and me to review? Now remember, there it is, Dr. Revis, AAPSL task 5 for instructor review, not for peer and instructor review. Do you see that? This is where you're going to put task 5. Now, when we talk to you about combining task 1 through 5, this is where you will submit it for instructor review. You'll go to the same place. again, it's not for your peers. At this point, everything is for either Dr. Revis or either for me, but this is where you will go when you combine it for us to tell you whether it's good, bad, ugly. You can send it on, you need to fix whatever. This is where you go. Okay. The same place.
And
Go
do
ahead.
not combine them until we tell you you're ready to do that.
Right. And that's
You have
what
to
we're
have
going to.
all tasks done, all tasks perfect before, well, as perfect as they can be, before you're ready to combine them.
And we're going to tell, and we're going to show you that process tonight. But I want to go here and show you, this is when we talk about once it's combined and it's ready, you'll send it there and we'll say, either you fix it, you have to do this, or we will tell you to, it's ready and to submit it to the AAPSL Turnitin check. Do you see that place? That is for, Dr. Revis, tell them what the AAPSL Turnitin check is for.
Well, Turnitin is a similarity report that the university always uses, and your work is checked against a repository of all other people's work from Gardner Webb and from the World Wide Web. And this is just a plagiarism check. Now, excuse me. Now, we do know that you're not going to see the report. Only we get to see your similarity report. All right. And we will send you a message and tell you you're within the parameters, you're fine, or wait a minute, you've got a little issue here, you're way high. But there's certain things that are it's going to automatically count on your similarity report. You remember all of the directions in the template. Everybody who's turned in task 4 has the same directions. So the similarity report is going to hit on that. So we have a threshold. We don't like to see at this point higher than 25%. 25%. If you get much higher than that, we're going to start looking at where you're hitting on or what you're hitting on there. See,
and 25% is still pretty high.
it is high. I like for you to be in the low 20s, but we can see former student papers. We can see people in your class who may have submitted before you did. If you hit on some of their work, we can see it all. So I don't mean to say anything like that to scare you or anything, but we do have an academic honesty policy that we must uphold. So if you're uncertain, or if you haven't made sure that you've documented everything that you've taken from another resource, make sure you do that before you go in to turn it in.
Now, if there's a problem, we can give you a chance to fix it. If it's a problem where you haven't cited your reference citations or things like that. However, and I'm going to use Tara and Michelle since I can see both of them. Let's just say that Michelle, you turn your work, like Dr. Revis said, you turn your work in before Tara does. And we do your Turnitin check, and you're good to go. Tara, you have been in Michelle's Zoom team, so you have access to her work, and you turn yours in. And the reason I can say this because I know Tara's it's not going to be that way, and they're not in the same Zoom teams anyway. They're in 2 different classes, but Tara, her score comes back, and there's some red flags there. The red flags are to the point that if Tara had gone in and looked at some of Michelle's work and said, oh, I like that, and had taken the liberties to use it, and Michelle put her work in there first, guess what it's going to tell us? that Tara has used Michelle's work. It's going to tell us whose work has been used. So, and we've had to deal with that, Dr. Revis, before. We've had to be, we've had to deal with it. So, and again, Dr. Revis just said, we're not trying to scare you. We just want you to know the process, and we would have to deal with that. So please don't make us have to deal with something like that. Okay. You're all of you are better than that. So we don't want to have to deal with that. Dr. Revis, I'm going to bring up that the directions and process. And if you would be prepared, I'm going to stop sharing in just a minute. And if you would be, just think about can get at the end what they've got to do. This is what you've got to do. And this is found under the AAPSL templated and materials section. This same document is there for you to copy and to use yourself. So you don't have to write this down, you've got it. But this is what you're going to do. This is your final evidence for the AAPSL. You're going to combine task 1 through 5 of the AAPSL as one continuous document. Now, what is that going to consist of? Okay, and I'm going to just add a little bit. Remember, you started out with your cover page, my name, your name here. Remember that? So that's page 1. Remember, your school profile came next. Then you had task 1. But remember, task 1 had its own, and you've got to put all the directions in black have to go into your combined AAPSL. But remember, task 1 had its own reference section at the end, and it had its own appendices. When you go to task 2, guess what? It had its own reference section, and it had its own appendices. When you went to task 3, it had its own. You're going to take all of those references and you're going to combine them into one reference section alphabetically. You're going to take all of those appendices and you're going to combine them into one appendices and make sure that they are consistently labeled Appendix A, Appendix B, Appendix C, Appendix D, however many you've got. You put them in that order. They should match the way you've got them in your paper. When if I see Appendix A, I should go in your paper. I should go and find Appendix A as the first one in your combined appendices. So you're going to have one reference section, one appendices, and you're going to take task 1, then task 2, task 3, task 4, and task 5 minus the references and appendices, and you're going to put them in that order in your paper with your header sheet, with my name here, and then following that, your school profile. Dr. Revis, did I leave anything out in what I just said? Okay.
No, just make sure. Some of you did this as you went through, and I think that was pretty wise. If you finished task 1 and you were on Appendix E, you picked up in task 2 with Appendix F.
Right.
And I think that's great. Now, if you didn't, if you started over every time, then you have to make sure that what's in your narrative matches what now is the right corresponding appendix entry. Okay.
Now, once you do all of that, once you've combined it, you go back to the same place in Blackboard and you're going to submit it for instructor review. If you're in Dr. Revis's class, she's going to look at it. If you're in my class, I'm going to look at it and I'm going to say, I'm going to say, Michelle, good to go. Everything looks good. Excellent work. Submit to the Turnitin process. That's what we're going to say. If don't do anything though until we say it's ready to go to the Turnitin process. If there's issues there, we're going to tell you there how to fix it so that by the time it gets to the Turnitin process, those kinds, the issues as far as structural and cosmetic issues should not be a problem. Okay.
And one thing, let me just reemphasize, you can only submit it one time to turn it in. So if you jump the gun on us and you submit it before we tell you you're ready, you've used your time. So wait, just be patient. Wait until we tell you you're ready to submit to turn it in.
How many's played Monopoly before? It says, do not pass go, do not collect $200. Do not pass go until we tell you to. Okay, that'll make life easier for all of us. Then, once we say, I'm picking on Michelle tonight. Once I say, Michelle, it's ready for the turn it in process, this is what Michelle's going to do. As Dr. Revis has already said, we'll review your originality report. You won't get a report, like she said. And if all's good, that's what we want. You'll be fine. If it's not good, we will meet with you individually about that, or Dr. Revis and I will meet with you together. And we hope that that doesn't happen. And then after that, we'll say, submit to Taskstream for final evaluation. You don't submit to Taskstream for final evaluation until we say it's ready for final evaluation. Only you will be able to see your score when it goes to Taskstream, and Dr. Revis is going to show you something in a second. Check for your scores daily. There's usually a pretty quick turnaround on that. Dr. Lamb stresses almost a 24-hour turnaround on that, Dr. Revis. And most of the time, you're going to get it back within a few hours after you've submitted it. Most of the time. If you don't, you need to let us know. When you receive your final score, you're to take a screenshot of that. And for the AAPSL, that's the last thing you do. You take that screenshot and you go to Blackboard and you submit it as a final grade, and you'll be through with the AAPSL at that time. Okay? This step-by-step is in Blackboard for you. Okay, Dr. Revis?
Yes, I'll go ahead and share my screen, and I want to show you. I'm going to go as far as I can with you. Can you see my screen?
Now we can, yes.
Okay. So this is a screenshot of your DRF folio. All right. This was some ones I had last year. And when you go into Taskstream, what you're looking for is your DRF folio. All right. Directed response folio. You've got two folios in Taskstream. You got this one, and if you look down through there, this is where we upload all of our evidence work. The AAPSL, the APTL, got the OMA, SKIP, CAP, all the ones that you're going to be doing this throughout the program. And you've got a competency folio. Now, most of you probably haven't. The competency folio will show up if you have created it. Dr. Lamb showed you how to do it several weeks ago. Next week, I'll show you how to do it again. But you've got to get in your directed response folio. And you go to the AAPSL, click on it. And this one's locked. It's been done. I can't do anything. But you click on it, and it will give you options for uploading. Okay? And here's where I say, because we can't see your screen. A lot of times you'll ask us, what do I do now? I can't see your screen. So here's where you kind of have to work with your Zoom team members and help each other through this if you have questions, because we really can't help you. We can't see what you're going through or see your options once you do that.
But Dr. Revis, 99% of you will figure it out the first time. You may be that 1% that would be me that would have to call Dr. Revis and say, Dr. Revis, I can't find it. Will you help me find it? So, and that's okay. you know, if
See,
that's
this,
what we're here for. So if you have to do that, do it.
it doesn't look like this. That's why I shouldn't have even pressed there. It will look, it will though have it down through here. Now, we're not going to talk about these other two things until next week. We'll talk a little bit about these, the competency analysis. We'll go ahead and talk about the dispositions probably pretty soon, but don't worry about anything else other than your AAPSL. All right. Exciting times. You're getting ready to birth this baby.
That's right. And again, the reason we're showing you this, and we'll probably remind you of it next week again. But there'll be some of you that will be, you'll have an itch and you'll want to scratch it by the end of the week. I can tell you. You ever heard that before, Dr. Revis? Got an itch and want to scratch it?
I
You
am.
have an itch and want to scratch it. And some of you are going to say, you know, I want to push. I don't care. You slap your hand 1,000,000 times if you go to looking at that turnitin process. Don't you do it. You slap the hand and move away.
Well, there are two kinds of people at this point. Those who want to be done and will rush through it, and those who don't want are so afraid. They are such perfectionists, they don't want to ever submit it. Now, you've got to have a good balance of those two. You want to take your time. That's why we want to look at it before you do turn it in. We want to look at it one more time when it's holistically, and we spot check through it to make sure, you know, if we see any glaring errors, we can look at that, look at your spacing, look at everything.
Now, our goal is, you know, we always strive to be the best. So we want your work to be accomplished work. We want, all of us want that 4.0. And we strive for it. And Dr. Revis and I are doing our very, very best to equip you with what it takes to get to a 4. But we don't want to go below a 3.0. If it goes below a 3.0, that means that we have to come back and work with you individually to get it to a 3.0. It's out of our hands. We know that when we tell you to submit it for a final evaluation, we're pretty confident that we're hoping that it's a 4, or if not a 4, we hope that it's you know, next to the 4. But we don't know the evaluators. They may see something that we would have missed, or you know, it's subjective to their review. It's out of our hands. So we're gonna get you to the place that we know that you're gonna pass. We're pretty confident that you're going to pass, or we're not going to tell you to submit it on. But we're hoping that it's a 4, and that's what you want is a 4. So go back and edit over and over again yourself, you know, to make sure that it is what you want, because once it's submitted, that's it. There's no, you cannot, you can say, well, Dr. Revis, I can get a 3.5, and I can say, well, Dr. Revis, I don't agree with that. Dr. Revis is going to say, well, I'm sorry, there's not a thing I can do about that, Dr. Stebbin. You got to accept that 3.5, and we move on. You know, so just know that, do the very best you can. Hope for the 4. If it's a 3, you just work harder next time to get it above the 3, but you don't want it below a 3. Okay.
Yeah, you can't resubmit it. If you get a 3, you know, it could be a 3.2, 5, whatever. But as long as you get a 3, you don't go back and revise. That's it. So that's why we want it to be the best you can have. But then again, at some point, you have to, if we tell you it's ready, we expect you to submit it. Pull the trigger on it and submit it. You don't have time to sit on it.
Okay. Okay, how do you feel? You feel pretty good about where you are? Okay. That's
Well,
good.
I guess unless somebody has questions about what task 4, or excuse me, task 5, we can let people go, right?
We can, and if there's anybody that has a question, we'll stay on for just a few minutes. We went ahead and kind of put the cart before the horse, and we talked about some stuff at the beginning that we don't have to talk about now, but I think you've got it. I really, okay, on Sunday night, let's talk about what is due. Let me pull it back up. Give me, Tara, hold your question. Let me pull this back up. Let me see if I can find it. Where is it? Okay, week 6 agenda, and this is on your, and we've sent this to you as well, and it's in Blackboard. Okay, let's come down here. What is due this week? Okay, week 6 responsibilities. Okay, AAPSL task 4 revisions due to instructor for final grade. And remember, if you've got issues with task 4, that we must have it cleared by Thursday of this week. But you know, as soon as you get it cleared, you can fix it, and we'll tell you to submit it for a final grade in Blackboard. Okay, you've already turned your task 4 peer reviews in. We got them. Remember, there are no task 5 peer reviews. And then AAPSL task 5 is due to us this week. You have to submit it to us for review, and you have to submit it for a final grade. Okay, so you're gonna, so get it to us. You need to get it to us. And again, since you've got some freer time this week, so try to get that to us as early as possible this week, so we can go ahead and clear you. And then honestly, you'll submit it, and everything else that we've talked about. Once we do that, if we get you cleared with that, all you got to do is put it together, and by the end of the week, you honestly could have task 1, evidence 1, the AAPSL completed. Do you see how, you see where you are with it now? You're so close to the finish line with it. And that's it for this week. You feel a little bit of relief, don't you? I know you do. So do I. We read and read and read and read and read and read and read the weekend, but it was worth it. It was worth it. So did we answer that question? Okay, Tara.
Yeah, my question was, on the agenda that you sent out today, the part at the very bottom that's in the blue that's highlighted says that we have to, if you're in Revis's class, you turn in the 12 competencies to Stedman, and if you're at Stedman's, could you address that and clarify?
Yes, that's going to be next week.
Oh, okay, that's not this week.
Yeah, that is not for this week. Yeah, we will talk about that next week. That is for that's for your folio. So you don't have to worry about that this week.
Okay.
And again, we'll go back through next week and show you how to build your portfolio, competency folio, and we'll show you how to upload it and all your stuff, and we'll address that next week.
Okay. So don't other than think about your artifacts while you're doing your competencies, don't do anything else with that. Okay. What else? Anything else from us? I think you've got it. I know you got it.
I do too. And if you feel like you've got it, then you can go on off, and we'll stay behind for anybody that has any questions about anything else. Have a good Valentine's Day the rest of the day.
Okay, bye everybody.
I'm trying to mute myself, but my picture keeps going around.
Jamie, when you feel comfortable before one day that show us, we'd love to see the baby when we can. Okay, can't hear you.
Hold on 1 second, I'll grab them.
Okay, great.
That is such a pretty name.
I love it.
While she's grabbing the baby, can I ask a question? Is there
Sure,
anywhere
sure.
else
Okay, go
besides
ahead.
that video? Is there anywhere else we can find the competencies?
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, hold just a second. Oh, how precious. How precious. That's a big baby.
He's actually really teeny tiny. He's only not even 7 pounds yet. He looks big.
Okay, he's
just
a
got
handsome,
hair.
handsome
He has
little-
lots of hair. Yes.
I'd love to have some of that. I'm
Okay,
glad
you gotta
to
say
have you, Jamie.
hey,
Hey,
Too.
sweetie.
Say hey.
Hey,
Hey,
look at that
princess.
princess. Yes.
Hi.
Yes. And I bet you're a lot of help for mommy, aren't you?
Yes, sometimes we try.
Sometimes. Well, thank you for sharing, Jamie.
You're welcome. Thank you guys. Have a good night.
You
Okay,
too.
okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead and ask that question again.
I said, besides the video, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
we can. Yeah.
Besides the video, is there anywhere else the competencies are listed?
Yeah. Go back to, I'm going to put this back up. Remember, we showed you go to your
Template.
template. Go to the template and your Blackboard template. Let me find it again. The template, the AAPSL template and material section. Go to the template and scroll all the way down to the bottom after task 5.
Okay, I remember.
You see it? Do you see it now?
I do.
Okay, and all of it's there. The ones in yellow are the
remember
ones
seeing-
that.
Okay,
Angela's been doing some really good work.
Yes, yes. Angela, you see it now? You see where to go?
yeah, I remember seeing it somewhere, but you know, when you start looking at
I
you
know.
remember where you saw it. All right, thank
I
you.
know. You got it now? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good.
Have a good night.
Yeah, you too,
Good.
Angela.
And
Okay.
Marie, you've been doing some really good work too.
Well, thank you.
And Tara, you know you have. I've already bragged on you.
I do have one question.
Sure.
It's regarding Taskstream. Do I need to reach out to Dr. Lamb? Because I still have not gotten anything saying that my account has been activated.
Yes.
Okay.
You need to send him, let him know that you're in Dr. Revis's class and have you got your student ID number?
Yes.
Okay, give him your student ID, your name, your student ID number, and tell him that you still are having issues, and he will get back with you as soon as he gets that message. I promise you.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
And let Dr. Revis know if you don't hear back, Marie. Let her know.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Marie.
Well, Dr. Stan,
Bye.